You were not born to grip life with white knuckles. You were born to dance with it. Somewhere along the way, someone convinced you that the only way to succeed, the only way to feel safe, was to control everything. To map every moment. To predict every outcome. To tighten your grip until your fingers bled with anxiety. But I'm here to tell you, control is an illusion. And the more you try to hold on, the more you push away the very things that are trying to find you. Life doesn't respond to force. It responds to flow. You weren't created to fight the current, you were designed to ride it. But the world teaches you otherwise. It tells you to hustle, to grind, to dominate your circumstances with a steel will. And while discipline has its place, domination over life does not. Because when you grip too tightly, you leave no room for grace. No room for divine timing. No room for the miraculous. The moment you try to control every detail is the moment you begin to choke the magic out of life. And let's be honest, you already know this. You've felt it. That rising frustration when things don't go to plan. That quiet panic when uncertainty creeps in. That heaviness in your chest when the future feels like a storm you're trying to outrun. You've lived the rigidity. You've lived the exhaustion. But have you lived the surrender? Not the surrender of weakness. The surrender of power. Of wisdom. The kind of surrender that says, I no longer need to know how everything will unfold, I trust that it will. That is not passivity. That is spiritual mastery. Because you see, when you let go of rigid control, you don't fall. You rise. You rise into a deeper intelligence, one that flows from the universe itself. One that doesn't operate from fear, but from faith. One that doesn't panic when plans shift, but leans into the shift, knowing it is guided. Control is rooted in fear. Flow is born of trust. And trust is not built in moments of certainty, it is forged in the fires of chaos. It is in the detours, the delays, the heartbreaks, and the breakdowns that your greatest spiritual muscle is built. Because it's easy to trust when everything goes your way. But true power is trusting when nothing does. That's where your faith becomes unshakable. That's where your mindset begins to evolve from a fixed, brittle structure into a living, breathing force of nature. A force that bends without breaking. A force that adapts, flows, and grows no matter what. You are not here to control the tide. You are here to learn how to sail with it. But the mind loves certainty. It clings to patterns. It builds walls around what it knows, terrified of what it doesn't. And when things start to change, when the path veers from the plan, that fear voice gets loud. It tells you you're losing control. It tells you to clamp down harder, to micromanage, to strategize to death. But that voice isn't your truth. It's just an echo of your conditioning. Because deep down, your soul remembers something your mind has forgotten, that the most extraordinary outcomes in your life rarely come from control, they come from surrender. They come from saying, I don't know what's next, but I know I'm supported. They come from releasing the ego's grip and stepping into divine guidance. And yes, I get it, surrender can feel terrifying. Letting go feels like free fall, until you realize that you're not falling at all, you're flying. You're aligning. You're moving from a mind-centered life to a soul-centered one. From manipulation to magnetism. From stress to serenity. From pressure to power. Because there is a rhythm to this universe. A rhythm that doesn't need to be forced. It only needs to be felt. It whispers in the silence. It moves in the stillness. It guides those who are quiet enough and bold enough to listen. And when you do, something remarkable happens. The tension starts to melt. The anxiety begins to loosen. The future doesn't feel like a threat anymore, it feels like a promise. Not because you can see it clearly, but because you know who walks with you into it. You begin to realize that the very energy you were using to control life is the same energy you can use to create with it. But creation doesn't thrive in tight fists. It thrives in open hands. Hands open to opportunity. Open to guidance. Open to miracles. Because miracles don't land in rigid plans. They land in surrendered hearts. You were never meant to predict every twist in the road. You were meant to walk it in faith. Because when you cling to control, what you're really saying is, I don't trust that life has my back. But life does. And it's been trying to show you over and over again that the path you're meant for doesn't require force. It requires alignment. Think back for a moment. Really think. The breakthroughs. The relationships. The opportunities that changed everything, did they come from rigid planning? Or did they arrive unexpectedly, like a breeze through an open window you didn't even know you left cracked? You didn't summon those moments by controlling life. You welcomed them by being available to them. That's the paradox. The tighter you squeeze, the less you receive. But when you loosen your grip, when you trust the process, when you hold your vision without choking it, life responds. Not always on your timeline. Not always in your way. But always in your favor. Because life is not against you. It never was. It is for your growth, for your unfolding, for your highest good, even when it doesn't look that way. Even in the mess. Even in the confusion. Even in the silence. Especially in the silence. You see, growth doesn't always come with trumpets and lightning. Sometimes it comes with stillness. With discomfort. With long seasons of not knowing. But those seasons are sacred. They are the gestation of your greatness. And you can't rush them. You can't muscle your way into clarity. You can't control your way into purpose. You can only be still long enough, soft enough, to let it emerge. This is the power of letting go. Letting go is not giving up. It's tuning in. It's releasing the noise of fear long enough to hear the whisper of wisdom. It's choosing peace over panic. Intuition over impulse. Faith over fear. Because fear screams. But truth whispers. And when you quiet the need to control, that whisper becomes thunder. It speaks in feelings, in nudges, in divine timing. It doesn't hand you a map, but it hands you a compass. And that compass is called alignment. Alignment is what happens when your energy, your actions, and your faith are all moving in the same direction, even if you don't see the full picture yet. It's not about passively waiting. It's about actively trusting. It's about doing your part and then stepping back. It's about planting the seed and then letting the rain come when it's ready. It's about taking inspired action, not frantic action. You don't need to do everything. You just need to do the right thing at the right time from the right place. That place is stillness. Trust. Faith. And from that place, your beliefs begin to change. You stop believing that success only comes through struggle. You stop believing that effort equals worth. You stop believing that if you're not controlling, you're failing. You begin to see the truth, that your worth is not in your output. It's in your being. That you are not the source, you are the vessel. And the more open the vessel, the more life can pour through you. But the vessel must be clean. It must be clear. It must be surrendered. Because control clogs the channel. Fear clogs the channel. Resistance clogs the channel. And when you release those, when you cleanse your mind of doubt, when you release the belief that you have to do it all on your own, then, and only then, does the floodgate open. Ideas begin to flow. Opportunities begin to land. People begin to show up. Not because you forced them, but because you aligned with them. This is the shift. From force to flow. From ego to essence. From manipulation to magnetism. And let me tell you, you are magnetic when you stop trying to be. You are powerful when you stop chasing power. You become irresistible when you are at peace. Because peace is rare. Peace is strength. Peace is the vibration of trust. And the universe responds to trust. Not to control. Not to fear. Not to desperation. But to trust. So trust yourself. Trust your journey. Trust that you are exactly where you need to be to receive exactly what you need to grow into exactly who you are becoming. The moment you trust, truly trust, is the moment everything begins to shift. Not always outwardly at first, but inwardly, energetically, spiritually. You begin to show up differently. You begin to speak differently. You begin to carry yourself with a quiet confidence that doesn't need to prove, persuade, or perform. You stop trying to bend the world to your will and instead, you let the world rise to meet your energy. And that energy, your energy, becomes a magnet for miracles. And isn't that what you've been seeking all along? Not just results, but resonance. Not just wins, but wholeness. Not just success, but soul-level fulfillment. And that kind of fulfillment doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from allowing deeper. It comes from remembering who you really are beneath all the pressure, beneath all the performance, beneath all the plans. You are not here to micromanage the universe. You are here to co-create with it. And co-creation starts with listening, not dictating. With aligning, not forcing. Because every time you try to dominate your path, you separate yourself from the very force that designed it. But when you humble yourself, when you lean back instead of lunging forward, that's when the wisdom of life begins to speak. It speaks through the unexpected. Through the delays. Through the redirections. It speaks through closed doors that hurt, and later reveal themselves as divine protection. It speaks through the opportunities you almost missed, because they didn't look the way you expected. And that's the danger of control, it blinds you. It keeps your vision so narrow, so fixated on a specific outcome, that you miss the miracles arriving in disguise. You miss the blessings because they don't match your blueprint. But here's the truth no one tells you: your blueprint was never big enough. Your plan was limited by your past. Your vision was shaped by what you thought was possible, not by what is truly available to you. Because what's available to you isn't limited by logic. It's expanded by faith. And faith doesn't require evidence. It creates it. Faith doesn't say, "Show me proof, and I'll believe." Faith says, "I'll believe and the proof will show itself." That's how the universe works. It doesn't respond to force. It responds to frequency. And your frequency is highest when your soul is surrendered. When your mind stops fighting the flow, when your heart opens, when your grip loosens, you rise into alignment with the rhythm of life itself. And that rhythm, that current, knows exactly where to take you. But only if you stop paddling upstream. You don't need to conquer the river. You need to trust where it's taking you. Even when the banks disappear. Even when the fog rolls in. Even when the current feels too fast or too slow. Because the river has a memory. It knows where it's going. It has always known. And the moment you let go of the need to steer every turn, that's when the magic begins. That's when the right people enter. That's when the timing starts to align. That's when clarity emerges, not all at once, but piece by piece. And with every piece, your faith grows stronger. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become wiser. You learn to let go of what you can't control and master what you can. Your attitude. Your energy. Your focus. Your ability to stay open when everything in you wants to shut down. Because letting go isn't about weakness, it's about wisdom. It's the wisdom to know what's yours to hold, and what's not. It's the wisdom to step back and ask, is this mine to carry? Or have I been gripping this out of fear? And when you drop what isn't yours, you make space for what is. Space for purpose. For joy. For divine instruction. Because the universe can't fill a clenched fist. It can only fill open hands. So you open them. You let go of the obsession with timing. You let go of the lie that your value is tied to how much you can force into place. You release the inner judge. You stop measuring your worth by productivity. You stop believing that control equals safety. Because true safety isn't in control, it's in connection. Connection to your source. Connection to your higher self. Connection to the knowing that no matter what happens, you are held. You are guided. You are being led somewhere meaningful. And when you live from that connection, you stop panicking when the plan changes. You stop collapsing when life doesn't follow your script. You begin to dance with the unknown instead of resisting it. That's power. Quiet. Centered. Sacred power. The kind that doesn't shout. The kind that doesn't need to impress. The kind that walks into a room and shifts the energy not by force, but by presence. And presence is born from peace. Peace that comes from knowing, I don't need to control every detail of my life to live a beautiful one. I just need to stay aligned. Stay available. Stay surrendered. Not passive. Not checked out. Not lazy. But awake. Aware. Anchored. Anchored in a vision, yes, but unattached to the path. Anchored in purpose, but willing to pivot. Anchored in faith even when the results haven't yet arrived. Because that's when they do. Not when you fight for them, but when you flow with them. And as you begin to flow with life, something miraculous happens. You stop living in reaction and start living in creation. You stop operating from lack and begin moving from overflow. You no longer chase what is already yours in spirit. You become a vessel that draws it in, naturally, effortlessly, because your energy is clear. Your heart is open. Your soul is surrendered. You're no longer vibrating with fear, trying to predict and protect against every outcome. You're vibrating with faith, and that frequency reshapes your reality. Because what you're aligned with is what you attract. And the more you let go of resistance, the faster what you desire finds its way to you. Not because you forced it, but because you finally got out of your own way. This is what freedom feels like. It's not in having everything perfectly planned. It's not in knowing every step before you take it. It's in knowing deeply, unshakably, that whatever step you do take will be met with grace. That no matter what unfolds, you are equipped. No matter what twists, what turns, what delays, you are not being punished, you are being positioned. There is intelligence in your timing. There is brilliance in the space between your effort and your results. There is order in the chaos, but you only see it once you stop fighting it. And maybe, just maybe, this moment right now, the one you've been trying to fix or fixate on or escape from, maybe it's the exact soil your next version needs to grow. Maybe the discomfort is divine. Maybe the waiting is wise. Maybe the uncertainty is sacred. And maybe if you stop trying to rush it, you'd find the very clarity you've been praying for, sitting in the silence you've been avoiding. Because life isn't found in the noise of control. It's found in the pause between your thoughts. It's found in the breath you take when you stop scrambling for answers and simply allow yourself to be. Be in the tension. Be in the mystery. Be in the knowing that everything is unfolding, even if it doesn't look like it yet. Because you are not abandoned. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming. And becoming isn't linear. It's messy. It's raw. It's full of false starts and quiet miracles that don't announce themselves until you look back and realize they were carrying you all along. You were never lost. You were being led. You were never failing. You were being formed. Every detour. Every delay. Every closed door. They didn't stop you, they shaped you. They carved you into someone deeper, wiser, more open, more true. And now, it's time to live from that truth. To walk into your life, not with fists clenched, not with fear in your chest, but with trust in your soul. To declare, I may not know how this will unfold. But I know it will. And I know that as I surrender the need to control, I align with something far greater than my plan. I align with purpose. With peace. With power. That is your true power. Not in controlling the world, but in becoming unshakable within it. Not in bending life to your demands, but in becoming so whole, so in tune, that life bends toward you. And as it bends, as it flows, as it shapes itself around your energy, you realize something incredible. You never needed to fight for control. You only needed to trust that the version of you who lets go is the version who rises. You rise, not by gripping tighter, but by surrendering deeper. You rise, not by knowing every answer, but by aligning with the one truth that's been waiting for you to hear it. You were never alone. You were always guided. And now that your heart is open, your hands are free, and your faith is unshakable, now you're ready. Not to force. Not to chase. But to receive. To receive the life that's been trying to find you, not the one you were trying to control, but the one that was written for you all along. Let it in. Let it unfold. And let it be even more beautiful than you imagined, because this time, it's not coming from fear. It's coming from flow. And that is where your true freedom begins.